How do you improve on a product that is already selling like hotcakes? Well, it's a tricky problem that Isuzu faced with its latest D-max update. So it's opted to issue slight design changes inside and out, but it's kept the familiar 3-litre turbocharged diesel engine. We're at the model's 2024 Australian launch, the first major revision of the model since it launched in Australia 4 years ago. So let's get in and we'll show you all about this car. As before, the D-max range is powered by a choice of 1.9 or 3-litre turbocharged diesel 4-cylinder engines. The 1.9 litre unit continues to produce 110 kilowatts and 350 newton meters, and the larger capacity 3 litre outputs 140 kilowatts and 450 newton meters. We have seen that out of Thailand, Isuzu is developing a mild hybrid technology to pair with its 1.9 litre engine in an effort to better fuel economy, though we will keep you updated with how that story pans out, particularly for Australia. There is no sign of a hybrid version, but Isuzu has confirmed plans for an all-electric D-max in 2025, first delivering in Norway and then elsewhere around the world. We'll keep you updated as well on how that pans out for Australia. When the current generation Isuzu D-max launched in Australia in 2020, it took the market by storm thanks to its generous level of included safety equipment, its strong and venerable 3-litre turbocharged diesel engine, and also a strong value for money sense as well. But the dual cab ute market moves fast, and it's now been overtaken by the Ford Ranger and now the Mitsubishi Triton as well. But this new update attempts to address those things. Now, most obviously in terms of design, it's got a new front fascia with an enlarged front grille, a new set of headlights down the side. You also have a set of unique wheel arches that are new for this 2024 model. You also do get a unique set of 18-inch wheels for this X-Terrain variant. And if you follow me around to the back, we've also got a slightly changed rear sailplane bar, subtly tweaked 4x4 badging, and also this set of new tweaked 3D LED cluster lights. Now they are triple tier, which is pretty cool. Now, one thing that hasn't changed a whole lot is the Isuzu D-max's tray. It's still functional, it's very easy to use. And I do love the fact that this is a gas strut, so it makes it very easy to lift and load things, and it doesn't clamber down like you do get in some other utes. Other changes under the skin include wireless Android Auto in addition to the wireless Apple CarPlay offered previously, and also some minor updates to the infotainment system. In front of the driver is a new 7-inch display which can change to show varying screens. It looks very sci-fi with the different graphics, and I love the cool off-road graphics too. In place of the old USB-A ports, the new D-max now supports updated USB-C for charging and connecting to the car. Inside the cabin, we've got the same dash design that we have seen on previous D-max models, but the train spotters will notice the fact that this car does get dials for tuning and volume controls. Now, that is hugely important for tweaking things on the go, like volume or changing the radio station. However, the trade-off for this car is the skip between function touch panel down here. That isn't the easiest thing to use, and it doesn't always register a button press. But it does have a subtly redesigned infotainment software as well. So you will see here, you've got displays for angles, off-road modes. You can also see what the transfer case is doing at any given moment, the drivetrain configuration. I love the fact that you can see this on the infotainment display. Like before, the air conditioning controls are down here on a separate panel, and I love the fact that they have stayed with buttons for that system. The interior itself, it still feels comfortable, it still feels very functional. You've got all kinds of storage, dual cup holders down here, a center console box, and a tray down here for storing your phone, but obviously no wireless charger in the D-max. Now, otherwise, you do have a little bit of design flair. You have got red stitching throughout the cabin, and there are a few little design motifs around the space, but overall, it's a really nice and functional cabin. In the second row, it is still a very nice and comfy space for even tall people like me. I'm 194 centimeters and I do have good knee room behind my own driving position. My headroom is pretty decent for a dual cab ute. But in terms of amenities, you will see that the Isuzu D-max for 2024 has swapped to USB-C. There is a USB-C port in the back here, and there's also a USB up in the front. But it also does have air vents, little hook for your coat there, map pockets. Another thing I do like about the D-max's cabin is the fact that it is very adaptable. So this seat base beneath me, it does fold up so that you can slide items in along the floor. And also this seat back folds forward as well. So if you do need that, it is a functional thing. Now, obviously it does have a fold down center armrest with a pair of cup holders, but I reckon it's time that we go for a drive. Well, here we are inside an Isuzu D-max doing what it does best. Now, you will have to excuse the parking sensors that are going on and off while we tackle this little moguls track at the moment, but this car, as we've found out this morning driving it, it tackles everything so impressively. Now, we are going over these little mounds at the moment, and the first thing that you do find is no matter the sort of undulation that you're going over, it does a really decent job at just getting over things. And particularly when you are off the beaten track and not in a controlled environment like we are at the moment, you really can sort of just trudge through ruts and not have to worry about striking the underside of the car. Now, new for the 2024 Isuzu D-max is the fact that it does get the rough terrain driving mode that was initially available only on the MU-X. Now, while the car doesn't have a ton of driving modes like you might find in a Ford Ranger, like off-road driving modes, this rough terrain mode is really smart in what it can actually do for your off-roading experience. So in real senses, when you are trudging over little mounds and that kind of thing, the car will engage its front traction control systems to make sure that the right amount of power is going to the right wheel. So given the one that does have traction, it will just eke out a little bit more power to make sure that you do get over mounds very easily. And we are trudging over these sort of mounds at the moment, and the car's really just tackling it like a dream. Now we are going slowly and we're just letting the car roll over the mounds in its own kind of manner, but we're really not running into traction issues that much at all. So it is really impressive in that regard. All right, well, now we have had our play off-road in the D-max. This is the kind of situation where you will find most Isuzu D-max owners driving on road. So to recap, it is a carryover powertrain from the predecessor. So it is a 3-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and that outputs the same 140 kilowatts and 450 newton meters to a part-time 4-wheel drive system. Now, the option of a 1.9-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine is available on lower grades, but for me, I think this larger capacity 3-litre engine just gives you the outputs that you really want. You can sort of go up hills and lean onto the throttle, and you do get that sort of shove that you really do expect from a dual cab ute. And it is really handy that the transmission as well, this ISIN sourced 6-speed auto, that it is really reactive to changing throttle inputs, and also when you are driving around town, it is making it easier to get up to speeds, like speed limits, very easily. An aspect that some buyers might find a little odd in the Isuzu D-max is the fact that it does have a traditionally quite a light steering feel. So when you are driving it around town and maneuvering through city traffic especially, it doesn't give you the most amount of feedback, but it is a very easy system to twirl and get the car maneuvered into parking spots, for example, and it does a job just fine. We had our fair share of towing up to about 3 tons with this 3-litre turbocharged diesel engine yesterday, and we found that it really sort of just tackles it like a dream. So when you are towing, the transmission is super smooth and it really just adapts to changing speeds, and it doesn't jerk the car, so it is really nice and smooth in that space. Something that Isuzu says has changed is a larger field of view for the camera-based adaptive cruise control and lane centering systems. So it is now 120 degrees of all-seeing eyes that makes sure that you are kept within a lane and you are sort of braking behind the car ahead as it slows down, and it is really attuned well to its surroundings and keeps the car sort of steadily placed on the road and safe. Now, talking driver comfort inside this cabin, I am sat in a really nice driving position. I do have a good view of the road ahead of me and also out behind me as well. But one thing I like to call out on Isuzu D-maxes is the fact that you do get a really nice seat. I'm sort of a bigger, broader shouldered person, and I do like the fact that you do have good support from the wings up here. And also when you are talking about the bolstering going through corners, it does keep you nice and firmly set in place as well. I've always come to appreciate the ride comfort that you do get inside an Isuzu D-max. It's not the most refined of all dual cab utes, but it is giving you a very nice balance of off-road ability and also on-road comfort. It sort of just goes over mounds and that sort of thing without too much of a issue and doesn't let that much intrusion come into the cabin. And the noise from the engine and wind noise is really well subdued, so you don't get that much intrusion from outside coming inside the cabin. Now, with regard to fuel economy, we have seen between 9 and 10 litres per 100 kilometres from Isuzu D-maxes before, and that is basically what we have seen from this car when we have been driving it on road. But this car has been off-road all morning, so it doesn't have the most indicative fuel rating. We are seeing about 20 litres per 100 kilometres, which isn't a typical rating that you would expect from an Isuzu D-max, but yeah, you can expect around 10, maybe even less, depending on what kind of driving you are doing. Overall, the updates that Isuzu has applied to the 2024 D-max, it does make the car feel that incremental step better. Now, it might be more stylistic and tech changes rather than out and out driveline changes and tweaks, but it does really make it feel like a more polished product overall, and it does really sort of bridge the gap to the other players in its segment that are a bit newer. The visual changes that Isuzu has made to the 2024 D-max at least make for a fresh face and keep this car current against its newer competition. But the bits and pieces that the brand has added, be it the tech or the equipment that the car does add over its predecessor, it does make for an incrementally better product overall. As for whether this car competes against the Ford Ranger or also the new Mitsubishi Triton, that remains to be seen, but we do look forward to putting it up against its rivals throughout the year. At least this car does continue to offer a strong value equation. Now, if you've liked this video or learned something interesting about the 2024 Isuzu D-max, be sure to give it a like on YouTube and stay subscribed to get all of our future content. You can read the full review on this D-max on Drive.com.au.